Food you grow, raise, and harvest on a homestead. Hello, my friends. Thanks for joining me today. This is the Everyday Prepper channel. And this will be one of 3 videos talking about food on the homestead as part of the Homestead Systems series. So stay tuned for the next 2. But for now, let's talk about growing, raising, and harvesting food. When we talk about growing, I can't help but to think first and foremost about garden systems. And they can be in a very full medley of choices, as we can see here. We have potted plants, we have suspension container systems, windowsill systems. It could be tabletop systems, raised beds. It could be in a greenhouse. It could be a planter built into the wall of a building. And so you can grow all kinds of stuff in garden systems like this. And you can have a lot of them. It could be herbal systems. It could be vegetable systems. It could be fruits. It could be flowers. Lots of things to bring food on the table. And so you have to figure out what you want to grow. What do you like? And after you select that, you figure out what are the needs of those plants. An extension of the gardens would be an orchard, and you may have room for one or more orchards. Orchards come in a lot of different sizes, and they typically involve nut trees and fruit trees. These are really good in terms of giving you a different variety of foods than just what you put in a garden. And so it's something to consider if you have the space and the time, because they can be a little bit more demanding on resources just to maintain them. And when I was growing up, we had a few fruit trees, and I think it was really helpful because we always had apples and peaches and pears, through a large part of the year. And now where I live, we don't really have that, or at least I don't have those trees, and I do miss those fruit trees. Another extension of the garden would be sprouting, having seeds that you soak and let them sprout, and use that as a part of a supplement to your meals. Very nutritious, a very good way to go. The next section here, though, is going to talk about raising. When we talk about raising food, I think about animals, and one of the more fun animals to raise is especially these giant rabbits. Now, I've never raised these myself, but I have raised rabbits when I was a kid. Now, they have different giant breeds of rabbits. This largest breed in the world is called a continental rabbit. The record is 4 foot to 4 inches. They typically are around like 3 to 4 feet, but they have gotten as large as 55 pounds. That's a big rabbit, but even small, just standard size rabbits can provide a lot of meat, and they reproduce very fast. They don't eat a lot of food, and they eat all kinds of food that are would be considered scrap food, just like chickens. And chickens is probably the other animal that is really well known in homesteads. And they also have giant versions of chickens too. The largest, different variant of the chicken would be the Jersey Giant. The roosters average 13 pounds and the hens 11 pounds, but they have been known to get larger than that. And so it's kind of cool that they have these large, variants, these breeds. But once again, they eat a lot of food. These giant rabbits and chickens, they have to eat a lot to be that big, maintain their weight, if you will. The other thing that I had when I was a kid on the farm was ducks. They not only lay eggs, which a lot of people actually prefer them over chicken eggs. They are very good. They tend to be a little more dense, and I think they're actually a little bit more nutritious. But they definitely are delicious, and they provide meat, just like cows. Cows produce, milk, and they can be used for meat. So it's a kind of a double duty there. But depending on what kind of cow you get, could be kind of something to consider, because some of them produce a lot more milk than others, and some of them get a lot larger than others if you're looking for just meat. Now, when we talk about goats, and let me tell you, I had a lot of goats growing up. The thing about goats is they're not really the best thing for meat. We never killed them for the meat, but they produced a lot of milk, especially if you're basically lactose intolerant to a large degree. It doesn't have as much lactose of almost any, and so it can be a lot easier to consume goat milk than cow milk. but they're also like nature's lawnmower. They pretty much eat anything. And so if you're trying to clear out a piece of your property, put some goats out there, and you won't have anything left in a few days. So goats, and they're real fun too. They have a lot of character, a lot of personality, and I'm even thinking about getting a few myself in the near future. These things are characters. And so, if you have the room, why not get a goat or two? They're not really that big of a deal. And you can actually just, you know, have them like a pet. I mean, you can pet them like a dog. I mean, I had them, so well trained as a kid that they were never problems and they were fun to be around. Now, I never had turkeys growing up, but man, that would be another option if the environment was conducive to that and there weren't a lot of predators. But man, you're talking about if you raise chickens, especially the giant chickens, man, this turkey would be the ultimate, bird of prey or the bird to actually raise for food. So that's awesome. What about pigs? I mean, when I was a kid, we didn't have a lot of pigs, but from time to time we did. Pigs definitely for their meat. I mean, I think a lot of people like bacon if they're going to be honest with you. And, pigs deliver. They do get big pretty fast. And as you know, they pretty much eat anything. So they'll love scraps. And just another option for the homestead. What about fish? Farm raising fish is kind of a pretty popular thing. I mean, you wouldn't think it would be, but it is in certain areas and others. But you could use swimming pools, pretty much all kinds of different containers. So I mean, it's just kind of whatever you feel like you can do and handle. You can make small ones, large containers to raise fish, and you can do all kinds of fish. I mean, it could be catfish, tilapia. I mean, it just depends on what you like. So definitely fish, is definitely a way to go. And they even do have various ecosystems that actually have algae and basically the algae feeds the fish and then the byproduct from the fish actually feeds the plants. And so there's like a whole system that you can actually put together. In terms of, talking about the next part here is the harvesting, then we would talk about like fishing. Fishing's a big one, and then hunting. It could be with a bow or an arrow. It could be with the crossbow in that sense. It could be with a rifle, shotgun. It could be for, hunting pheasants. Some people do frog gigging, turtle hunting. It could be hunting rabbits, quail. Obviously deer is a real big one. Even bear. I've never really hunted bear. Most people in my area just hunt rabbit and squirrel. But bear, if it's in your area, man, that's a lot of meat, just like a really large deer or elk, or if you're even up north more, a caribou. So that's definitely something to consider. Hunting though is kind of one of those things that not everyone's into. But if you're hungry enough and depending on the situation, you may learn real quick. But if you're talking about homesteading though, definitely having some things to know how to do, like hunting, fishing, and foraging, are going to be really good to supplement your animals that you actually raise, your orchards, your sprouting, and your gardening. So hopefully these give you some ideas. I know that food, producing of yourself, the growing, raising, and harvesting, is kind of a tricky thing. You have to kind of get into like a rhythm of doing this. But stand by though for the next two parts, the short-term food storage video and the long-term food storage video coming up next. Thanks again for all your support. You guys take care.